Hello and welcome to this tutorial on 9 essential shaders for Arnold, or rather than shaders, materials. You should have these materials saved as presets, but the only shader we're going to use is the AiStandard shader. This is a shader you will use for pretty much everything except for specialist items, but we're not going to go into that today. That's just the one shader you're going to need. Now here I have a nice studio setup. We have a nice backdrop with 3 lights here. We have a cold light, a warm light, and then just a white light over the top. So we've got some nice lighting, and we've got some balls that need to be materialized, or maybe that's the wrong term. They need to have materials assigned to them and things like that. But before we do that, our backdrop here is still assigned to a nasty Lambert shader. Now although Maya shaders still work inside Arnold, it's best just to stick to all Arnold or all Maya, and since all these balls are going to be with the AiStandard, we're going to change this to be also an AiStandard shader. And that also gives me the chance to introduce you to a material preset you should have saved. It's called the matte material, which is basically you set your roughness on your diffuse to 1, and you set make sure that your specular weight is set to 0 and everything else is also set to 0. And that's about it. So we can assign this here to there. We're going to call this matte material, like that, and we could save that as a preset, but I've already got all of mine saved there, so don't really need to. But if you want to save a preset, all you do is save an AiStandard preset, give it a name, and then save the attribute preset. Yep, pretty simple. So now that we've got that out of the way, we have our first material assigned to our background. We have 9 more to do, which are interesting, and you need to know them basically, and you need to learn them so you can navigate through the Arnold material interface, which is it's really simple to learn once you grasp the basics of what each tab means. But we'll be going through that as we create the materials. So the first one we're going to create is a chrome material. So to do that, we're just going to create another AiStandard. We're going to call this chrome, like that. There we go. We're going to set our diffuse weight to 0. Now in some shaders you should set the colour to 0 in order to turn that part of the shader off. But in Arnold, if you set that to black, but you leave this at 0.7 or 1, then you're going to be diffusing black instead of actually turning the diffuse material off. So with that turned off, let's move down to the specular tab. Now specular is basically when light hits the object, it'll bounce off it like a mirror. So if you ever learned physics and the way that light behaves, and with mirror, it hits the mirror, hits it at an angle, and then it reflects off at the same angle. Different. I'm not a physicist, don't ask me to explain, but all you need to know is basically like a mirror. Okay, so we're going to set the weight to 1. So these almost work like percentages, these weight things. So if you set that to 1, and you also set diffuse to 1, you can do that, that's still right, but in the Arnold documentation it says that's wrong, because when you add all the weights together they should equal 1. But you don't need to worry about that, that's not really a thing. We are artists, not scientists, that doesn't really matter, but still thought you might want to know. Anyway, specular set to 1, we're going to set the roughness to 0, so obviously this is a perfect mirror, it's a perfect chrome material. These are new additions, the anisotropy and rotation. I don't know whether I said that right, I know I said rotation right, but everyone seems to say that differently, so screw it. Fresnel, this is basically the angle at which light will be reflected the most. So if you had this set to 0.001, you'd have to be at a very sharp angle to see the reflections. Like on a car, if you look at it straight on at a door, it's not too reflective, but you look at it from the side, it turns into a mirror. It turns into a mirror. So that's basically what your Fresnel does. It's the angle at which light will be reflected. Okay, so for a chrome ball we still use this, but it's going to be at 0.8, so the angle isn't very great. If we're flat onto it, 100% flat, it would still be slightly reflective. Okay, that Fresnel value there basically means it's pretty much reflective all the way around, but when it gets to edges and sides and glancing angles, it will be slightly more reflective. That's all that means. Okay, so that's our chrome material setup. Let's apply that to our first sphere here on the left. Sphere here, sphere here. I've turned into Ronnie Barker. Right, let's IPR that. Now hopefully I've recorded this tutorial twice, and both times this IPR render window has just completely messed up and not worked at all. In the recording, that is. So I'm hoping it works this time, otherwise I'm wasting another half hour of my life. But anyway, you can see here that the chrome material has been applied to our sphere and it's reflecting all our lights and all the other stuff. That'll start to look more interesting when we add the other materials to the balls and such like. Let's just save that out. And also, if you use environment lighting, the specular will, or should, reflect the environment, but there is also another reflection tab. Now, I don't really know the difference other than you use specular more than you use reflection. I can't quite remember the difference between them, but they both reflect different things. I think specular will be objects and reflection will be environment, or something like that. Go check it, I'm not too sure. Right, so our next material will be a glass material, right? Now, in a few previous versions of Arnold, you couldn't create a glass material until you went down here to the shape tab on the object, went down to your Arnold tab, and unticked opaque. Right, if you had that ticked, the glass material wouldn't really work. If you had a light behind the object, the light wouldn't travel through it to the camera. You just wouldn't see it. So we need to untick opaque. I think we still need to do that, but it's a good job just to do it anyway. And we're going to create another AiStandard, and we're going to call this glass, or glass, or that refractive thing that we all like. So, for our diffuse, we're going to set that once again to 0, because glass doesn't diffuse anything, okay? It doesn't. Let's just apply that to that sphere before I forget. And we're going to set our specular to 1, our roughness to 0, and we can come down here to refraction. We're going to set that weight to 1, the IOR to 0.5, like that. We're going to set Fresnel use IOR. Right. Yeah, you can see here our glass material is very reflective. It's far too reflective, especially with these lights and such things. So we can turn our weight down, let's say to about 0.5, let's see what that's like. That's a bit better, that's 0.3. It's about dialing it down until it looks right. So for me, I think that looks quite okay. It looks like glass, it's refractive like glass and other such things. You can mess with the roughness, you can turn that up a bit. Not too much though, but if you wanted a bit more of a frosted glass look, you'd just change your roughness. So we'll go with that, that looks okay. My computer is screaming at me at the moment, but you know, we'll ignore it. Right. And because we take this box here, Fresnel will use index of refraction, which is what IOR stands for, we no longer get these Fresnel controls, because the Fresnel is being controlled by the index of refraction of the glass. God, I can't get my words out. Right, so let's wait for that to finish, it shouldn't take too long. And obviously, as we get more materials on these balls, it's going to take longer to render, so I'll just end up skipping it. So, let's save that out, and hopefully you should be able to see that now, if you couldn't see it in the IPR, so don't panic. That's there, like that, very good. Let's move on to our next one. Our next one is Incandescent bulb. Now this is an extremely easy material. So, I can't spell this, I've written it down. Incandescent bulb. Let's go with that. Maybe we'll do a capital B. Bulb. Let's put it like that. Bulb. There we go. Very good. Diffuse set to 0 because an incandescent bulb just emits light. Okay. In fact, first of all, no, we'll do this first, and then I'll show you. Let's just close all these tabs. We're not using any of these. If the weight is set to 0, Arnold ignores it. So let's come down here to emission. I'm going to set the scale to 1, and then we can use whatever colour we like. I'm just going to use white for the moment, because it's a material preset that we're creating, so we want it to be fairly neutral. So the user can bring it in and then just change things as they need it. Alright, so let's grab our incandescent bulb material here, assign it to that ball. Let's click IPR again, and you can see that is emitting light. You might not be able to tell if I turn the other lights off, you'd be able to see that that was emitting light. Right, let's quickly do that. let's quickly switch all these lights off. So I've forgotten how you do this now. It will be, if we set sample, illuminate by default. That's not it. Set the samples, set samples to 0. Yeah, there we go. Set the samples to 0, and there we go, we switch the lights off. Very simple. There we go. Let's click IPR on here again. You can see that ball is emitting light using a material. Now there is another way to do this. You could make the object a mesh light, which is something Arnold lets you do, which is very useful when creating, lights on the ceiling that are going to be visible to the camera, and also lightsabers if you're into that sort of thing, and all that jazz. You can see this is very noisy. So let's just delete this material for now. We'll bring it back in a minute. And on this ball here, let's come down to where we changed our opaque, and under here where it says polymesh, we're going to select mesh light. Now I can change the intensity, the exposure, the colour, and all that stuff. So let's IPR this again. And you see we can't actually see the sphere. Don't worry. All we do is we click this here where it says light visible. Just tick that box. Now we can now see our light. So we can change the exposure to say 3. And we can change the intensity to 10 to make it more white if we want to. And there we go. So we can do it that way, or you can do it through the material. But if you use a light, you can see it's a lot smoother. Because it's not material, it's calculating it as a light. You get a lot better lighting from it. So I suggest using the mesh light over the incandescent bulb. But that's a material you should know for things that have a slight glow to them and will emit some light. But we'll wait for this to finish. And we shall leave that as a mesh light. No, we won't. We'll put it back to incandescent. Let's quickly just see, this is the joy of material presets. You can drag that on there. Go to the ball. Tell it you're not a mesh light, you're a polymesh. Go to the AiStandard, hit preset, and then go incandescent. There we go. Sorted. Right, so let's switch our lights back on and get back on track. Right, so the next material we're going to be doing is car paint. So I was talking about cars and Fresnel before, and how at an angle they're more shiny than when you look at them straight on. Yeah, this is that. So car paint, but there are two types of car paint. You have normal car paint and you have metallic car paint. We will be covering them both, so don't panic on there. And they do both look different. So let's call this car paint, like that. And we're going to set the diffuse to whatever you want, basically. I'd keep the weight at 0.7, and the roughness can stay about the same. It doesn't really matter. It's just preference what colour you want this. So we're going to go for blue. Nice kind of darkish blue like that, maybe. That looks quite nice. Let's set the roughness up to about 0.4-ish. See what that looks like. No backlighting. Backlighting is used for thin objects. We'll come to that later because we'll be doing a balloon material. Right, so let's come down to specular here. We're going to set the specular weight to 1. We're also leaving the colour at white here. The roughness will be at 0. And the Fresnel will be at 0.02. Like that. Oh, I put that in the wrong place. Oops. You go back to 0, Fresnel, 0.02. There we go. Also, what's great about the AiStandard material, or shader should I say, it has a subsurface scattering option in here. Let's close that. So we're going to use this. We're going to set this to 0.163. So I have written down. And that's about it, I think. Where am I looking? Yeah, that's about it. And that is our metallic car materials. So let's drag that over to our sphere. Click IPR on this. You can see that's looking a bit like car paint. In fact, it shouldn't just look like a bit, it should look like car paint. It's a very light blue, but we can change that up. We can make that darker if we so wish. Just by turning the weight down, although that's not recommended. We're just turning down the colour a bit. Also, we could turn down the specular if we wanted to. But we are creating presets and we're not fine tuning. We're just leaving it at what it should be. Let's put that there. And when this is finished rendered, we shall save this out and we shall move on to doing shiny plastic. No, we'll do balloon next actually. Oh, so sorry, no balloon. We are doing gold. Never mind. Professionalism right here. Right, for gold is a tricky sort of metal. It's different from the others. It's one that, if you put it in your show reel for doing VFX and materials and things, it's a good one to have. If you can get it to look realistic, it's a good one to have, and thumbs up to you. Right, so let's get started. We're going to come into colour here. We're going to use the RGB channel just so I can type in these numbers which I have written down. So we're going to go 0.83. Oh god, I'm not even typing. 0.83 be 0.83. Our green channel we're going to set to 0.47. So 0.47. And our blue channel we're going to set to 0. You can see that's kind of a bronzy looking colour. That's what we want. Weight is going to be set to 1. The roughness is going to be set to 0.473. Like that. Very nice. Or 472, I've got written down, it doesn't matter. We're going to come down to specularity now. I'm going to set the colour to red channel 1. Green is going to be 0.85. And the blue channel will be 0.68. Like that. So it's just off-white, and it's just slightly heading towards that gold colour there, but not quite. That's what we want. Right, so for the weight of this, we're going to set to 0.75-ish. There we go. Like that. That'll do. The roughness to 0.6, just below. Not. There we go, like that. And we're going to use Fresnel of 1. Like that. So let's grab our gold material. It doesn't look very golden there. Let's drag this over to the sphere and IPR this. And now you can see where Arnold lies to you with that. When you look at the swatch here of what Arnold says that this looks like, it looks nothing like that in the render. Yeah? And that's because the Arnold doesn't take into account the mixture of different colours and the roughnesses and the weight and the Fresnel as well as it does when it renders it. And that's just a very quick glance of what it looks like. And very quick, it's like an overview of things. But it looks like that in the render. So that's good, that's what we want, that's looking like gold. Let's wait for this to finish. And we shall move on to, what's our next one? Car paint. I've already done car paint, what's that supposed to be? And on the next one, oh this is finished now. Right. Let's take a look back. So we went from here to getting, because you can see when we changed that from Lambert to the AiStandard matte material, look how much brighter and better that looks as a background. So we added our chrome material there, our glass, our incandescent bulb and our car paint, so we didn't save one between there. And also our gold, which we just added, and now we're going to be doing the metallic car paint. Slightly different, not hugely different, but different nonetheless. Right, let's add another AiStandard in here. We're going to call this metallic car paint. Like that, very good. Our diffuse, once again, you can basically set it to whatever you like. There's no real restrictions there. So let's turn down our red here. I kind of want an Aston Martin racing green sort of thing. Like that, that'll do. That's kind of Aston Martin racing, or British racing green I should say. Our weight can stay at 0.7, and that's about it for our diffuse. Just set a colour. That's all you need to do. Right. So we're going to come over to a specular colour here. And we're just going to set this. We're not going to use that colour and lighten it or anything like that. All we're going to do is just take this and turn it down a bit. Like that. Okay, so it's just slightly darker, that's all. We're going to set the weight on this to 0.24. It's not too high, so you can see where they're differing now. This one doesn't have quite as much specular or anything like that. But this is metallic car paint we're doing. We're going to set the roughness to 0.4. There we go, Fresnel to 0.67. Like that. Jolly good. Come down here to subsurface scattering once again. And we're going to set this to the green colour here. We're just going to bring it down a bit so it's a bit lighter. Like that. There we go, that'll do. And then we'll set the weight to 0.1. There we go, that's metallic car paint. Let's click and drag that over to our sphere. Let's IPR this again. So you can see how they're differing. You can see this one's a lot more reflective, this car paint over here. And this one is a bit more diffused, but it's still got that reflectiveness on the side. And that's because that's just because of the way that they're painted, the way that metallic cars are painted, and the way that your car will normally be painted. It's just a different type of paint, and you can see the difference. It's I've got to say I prefer the metallic car paint look, but you may prefer the car paint look. It depends on your taste. Let's wait for this to finish render. We'll save out an image. We'll start from this side here. We shall do shiny plastic. Right, so let's save that out. And now we're going to do shiny plastic. So let's create another AiStandard here. I'm going to call this shiny plastic. This one's not too difficult, but it involves something that I said before, which is by setting this colour to black, you are not turning off that channel, you're basically saying diffuse this colour. In diffuse channel anyway. Specular, it'll be, your specular highlight will be this colour, and so on. So we're going to set it to black, leave the weight at 0.7. We're going to use the roughness here at 0.2. And we'll come down to specular. I'm going to set this down a bit, 0.6, if I could see values. There, 0.6. We're going to set the weight to 0.5. And the roughness to 0.3. 0.35. The Fresnel will then be set to 0.7. Right, and there we go. That's our shiny plastic finished. Not too difficult. Now you don't need to remember the exact numbers, just kind of know what things do. That's all you need to know. So let's IPR this again. And you see we now have our shiny plastic on the back. Now if you wanted your plastic to look a lot softer, a bit more malleable, whereas this one looks very hard, to make it look more malleable and soft, I think all you'd have to do is change the roughness on your specular. Things like that. So if we change the roughness up a bit, you see that suddenly becomes a lot softer. It looks like you could squish it almost. So let's set that back down to whatever it was. It was 0.5, wasn't it? Was it 0.5? No, it wasn't. It was 0.3, you fool. There we go. There's me looking at the wrong numbers on my notes. Right, so let's wait for that to finish, and then we shall move on to, I think that one's balloon. There we go, perfect. Right, that's now finished. Let's save out an image of that, and let's move on to our balloon. And this uses something I also mentioned before, which is the backlighting. So let's call this balloon. It's balloon with 2 O's and 2 L's. I can't remember. Yeah, 2 L's, 2 O's, and then N at the end. Right, so for our diffuse, let's head over back to RGB. I'm going to set this to 0.75, the next one to 0.9, and then to 1. So this is slightly blue, and this will give us a pretty much white balloon. You've always got to remember that you can change that colour, so when we say there's a preset, the artist can go in, like I'm the artist, I can go in and I can change the colour and make it a bit more pink. But, you know, that's not really what we're going for. We just kind of want normal, very plain, but still you can recognise what it is, type of materials, because they are presets. They're not going to be the end-all thing that you would render, but although they do look very nice. So, to make a balloon, we set in our colours here. Our weight stays at 7. I'm going to put the roughness up to 0.42. Oh, we can just set it to 4 actually. Easy. Backlighting is set all the way to 1, because don't forget balloons are thin. When you blow them up, very thin plastic, soft plastic material with gas in the middle, right? So very thin. We're going to set the specular weight to, the specular colour stays at 1. The weight we will be setting at 0.2. The roughness will be at 0.45. Well, that'll do. There, yeah, that'll do. That'll do, whatever, doesn't matter. Fresnel, we shall set that at 0.5. Oh dear, 0.57 there, 0.5. We're also going to add some subsurface scattering, and the colours here will be red set to 1, green set to 0.7, and blue set to 0.9, so it's slightly red. And that's just It just makes it look better if that's slightly red, is that specular. It's got nothing to do with the way the plastic's composed, I think it's got more to do with the sun. So, because the sun's quite orange, and obviously we're lighting in a studio environment, but balloons look best in the sky rather than in a studio, so we can try and make that look a bit more like that. That's pretty good. We're going to set the weight to 0.4 as well. There you go, like that. And there's our balloon. So let's grab this balloon material here, let's drag it over to doing that middle one there, aren't we? IPR that. And there we go, there's our balloon. Of course it looked better if it was a balloon shape and wasn't in a studio environment, but we're working with it. But that's your balloon material. It looks pretty good. It's slightly see-through because of the backlighting and the subsurface scattering and things like that, but it's not really see-through, if you get what I mean. So let's wait for that to finish rendering, and then we shall move on to everybody's favourite after tea delight. Right, so that's finished, and now we're going to do chocolate. Yes, who doesn't like chocolate? Raise your hands. Yeah, I didn't think anyone would put their hands up, but they did. Chocolate. So it's words like this that really screw me over. Can't spell. Right, forget the square bracket. Okay, chocolate, let's have a bit of fun. So we're going to set our diffuse here, let's follow our notes again. We're going to set the red to 0.38, this one to the green channel, this one 0.27, and then the blue to 0.2, like that. There we go, we're at a nice brown chocolate there. The weight is going to go all the way to 1. The roughness will be 0.3-ish, 0.32, that'll do. Our specular colour will stay to white, our weight will be 0.65, there we go. That's 0.63, but it doesn't matter. It's fine, nobody knows. We're going to set the... where am I now? I completely forgotten where I am. Roughness will be set to 0, and our Fresnel will be set to 0.1. There we go. Let's drag this material over to our ball there. Let's IPR this. And there you go. I don't know if you can see this because the recording may be screwing it up. So we'll wait for it to finish. And there we go, our materials have finished, and as you can see they all look very different. But we've used the same shader each time. All we've done is change some sliders, and you can see that we can get vastly different results. I mean, they're not just different in colour, they're different in properties. So, let's just go over what we've got here. We have chrome, there. We have glass. We have an incandescent bulb, which you could do using the Arnold mesh light, but you can do it using the AiStandard shader. We have metallic car paint. We have gold, looking very nice. And we have normal car paint. We there have hard, shiny plastic. We'll call it hard, shiny plastic. We have a balloon, and we have chocolate. Now, these might not seem too useful at first. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Not you, I don't know. But these are very useful. Okay? Chrome is good for creating anything that's shiny. That's not diffused, it's just shiny. Whether it be a mirror, whether it be a rim of a car, whether it be anything, you know. Glass is useful for anything that's refractive, so whether it be water or glass. It's useful for either of those. All you have to do is, for water, is change the colour and obviously the index of refraction. Incandescent bulb, if you want your light to be visible, you know, or maybe you're creating material that emits some light. Now Arnold doesn't use glow like the mental ray renderer does. Those effects have to be added in post. But you can still simulate the emission of light from an object without having to turn it into a light. So that is useful. Metallic car paint is useful as car paint. It just depends on your preference, whether you're creating a gigantic robot or you're creating a nice Aston Martin. Either one will do, either one looks nice. All you have to do is change the colour. That's the beauty of it. Hard plastic, basically, once again, used for anything that's hard and plastic. And if you want it to be soft, all you have to do is change the roughness. It's very simple. Balloon, obviously, used for balloons, but also you're learning the backlighting, so you get to use it for paper and other such things, except paper isn't quite as specular. And then you've also got chocolate, used for any liquid that's not translucent, or transparent, I should say. So all very useful, and you should all have all these saved to your presets. Okay, they're all very useful. I hope you learned something today. I'd like to thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you next time.